So if, God forbid, Tehran cannot play on Sunday, knowing obviously that Kendall's now on IR, obviously you have Patrick left potentially, then you have options at right with Jackson Carman. I was going to ask you, would it be unreasonable to expect a veteran who has played right tackle before, but not this year, like Wynn or Eichenberg, to play right tackle in a Week 18 game?
I think it's expected that we have to go through all variables, making sure that we cover potential situations. So those are things that, as we go through the week and the process, that we're in conversation with, Butch, Mike, Chris, and I are just talking about making sure that we're in the right position and have the right guys. So if we had any down the line issues, we're ready to go.
What was your assessment of Jackson Carman's first game?
I think that for him, there was some good that we liked, and there was obviously some things that he can improve upon, especially when you play for a long time. You're used to certain techniques, and you actually get game performance to do it. That's when you make your your greatest learning, because now you can actually see it live, and now you can make the improvements. So the one thing about Jackson is heavy pro, works his tail off, and I know he'll be ready to go, and he's excited to improve every day he goes out here.
Have you worked out or observed Braden Daniels in the past? I don't know if he was a part of the draft assessment back in the day. Okay, back last year, right?
Yeah. He was a guy that we liked, and then he's shown versatility in the NFL, and that's just something that we always value, is the guys that have flexibility throughout the line, show range, movement skills that can play inside and outside, and those are, when guys become available and we have spots available, those are guys that we really value.
Frank, when you look at pass protection, you could have a quarterback who has not played a lot, and Snoop with this team, left tackle who has not played a lot, and Patrick Paul, right tackle. That communication, quarterback, left tackle, right tackle, is that a huge thing in pass protection, or, is it just kind of, you're a pro, you can do it?
It's more of, collectively the group of the offensive line, starting with the communication through Brew, through the inside out, and then quarterback knowing the intention through our protection system of how we're going to block things, anticipation. So, but I think that kind of goes into each week. We always try and make sure that we're connected with our route distribution, protection plan, launch points, timing. Because the hardest thing in pass protection in the NFL is how are you going to throw the football? What's your launch point? How are you going to protect it? 6-man, 5-man, 7-man. So, those are all things that we weigh each week, and we make sure that we're all connected throughout the entire offense.
Were there any things that you found in the run game against San Francisco that maybe reverted back in this past game against Cleveland?
It's just one of those where you just see we're one guy off. And when you're one guy off and the ball's cutting, and that's the guy that's forcing the ball or making the play, the difference is between a positive gain, minimal gain, or a big gain is this margin of error. So that's kind of what we're off, is that we were just one guy short from having some runs that could have been pretty cool.
Patrick Paul, how would you assess how he's played when he's had a chance?
I think each week he gets better, and he really is improving. And you can see the part of coaching is you can see, like, the practice. That's where you make a lot of growth, and you get into the game. And then each week he's been able to keep building, getting better in pass protection and with his run fundamentals. So it's a guy who is really using his time to grow, and we're excited about him, really short-term and long-term for how he's been able to grow.
Frank, Snoop is 22 of 26 passing last week. Why was he so effective? Why is that number so high?
I think it goes into, like we were talking about, pass protection and how it builds out to the entire passing game. So if we're all on the same page of our intent, and we understand how route distribution timing connects to pass protection, that allows us to distribute the ball, and also at quarterback, knowing that as I go through my progression, where's everyone going to be? So and what's the launch point I'm protecting? So I think it's just that connectivity is vital, and that's why we make sure that from Wednesday through all the way to the game, we're talking about the different components of the game plan, how we're trying to attack the defense, distribute in the passing game, so that way we can be effective. And Snoop is awesome with his approach and preparation.
Yesterday, Mike McDaniel said, I think Snoop is starting today. He said today. In other words, as of yesterday, he was planning on Snoop to start. Nothing has changed, right?
I think that this time of year, we're really working through each day of just making sure we're getting guys ready for a process, and we're just evaluating, where we're at each day. So, like, right now it's Thursday, making sure we're at right now, Friday, Saturday, all the way to the game. So that way we'll know who we can go to the game with and put him in the best position possible.
Has Tua told you guys if his hip has improved at all in terms of how he feels or how he's able to move? What's been conveyed?
Well, always a player, they want to be able this time of year to go out and execute and play with their teammates. So, I mean, he's being aggressive with his rehab and his approach to get ready to play. But ultimately, we're just making sure that we put everyone in the best position possible so we can execute and have a great day versus the Jets.
Where does Jalen Wright stand right now as his opportunities have kind of diminished recently?
I think it's not really as much the other guys. It's just, the versatility and what Devon brings just in the passing game along with the running game. And when you look at like the first Jets game, I mean, we had a 30-yarder call back on a holding call. Like and then versus the Niners that hits off almost the same spot, for the touchdown at the end of the game. So it's not as much, how the other guys are doing. It's just opportunities as we're getting into it. If we're not running the ball the way we feel about it, then we're making sure that we're moving the ball effectively through other areas of the offense. So ultimately, we always look at our goal is to manufacture yards, drive the field to score points in whichever way the defense is vulnerable to the attack. And so that's one emphasis for us in the run game is to give us more opportunities and make sure we're getting guys. But we haven't lost confidence in any of our backs, and their approach has been great.
When you're measuring if Tua is healthy enough to be able to play, Mike said that it's an issue of like how well he can protect himself on the field without making the injury worse. Is that independent of issues along the offensive line or injuries on the offensive line and how that pass protection, like you were mentioning earlier, can hold up? Or do you just measure, okay, if he's good enough to go, we're going to send him out there regardless?
Yeah, I think it's easy to sit back and go, okay, these are the things that could happen, and then how do they impact things? Ultimately, it goes into a player's ability to execute his job and also be healthy enough to handle the things that could occur. So I think that we try and make sure that our guys are good to go through our medical process and our communication, so that way we can have guys play effectively and they're not putting themselves in a position where it's just, hey, I can do this, but I can't do that. It's like we want guys to be able to go and perform and do what we need to do to win.
And on that same question that Juan's just raised, just to, I guess, phrase a slightly different way, just to confirm what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. Does whether you have backup offensive linemen in the game affect even one iota a decision on whether Tua plays, or are they totally unrelated? It wouldn't matter if you have 5 backup offensive linemen. If Tua's cleared and able to play, he would play.
I think that when it comes into these situations, I know that you guys have to weigh and think that involve in our process. The biggest thing for us is that when we have different guys stepping up at different spots, we're making sure our entire plan of what we're doing is putting our guys in the best position and making sure they have the ability to do their job. If we were sitting in 5 wide and, just drop back throwing 7-step, then that would be like the doomsday you go through of like, oh, what's going to happen? But ultimately it's for us to put our guys, can they play and play at a high level and play at what we need to do? And that's how we evaluate to make sure we're ready to go.
For him, is there like a mental component of like, you don't want him thinking of how to protect himself, like as a play is going on, you want him to be able to kind of focus fully on playing the game rather than, okay, I need to protect this hip?
I think that goes into the psychology of just playing in general. It's like when you're playing, you can always have, if your mind wanders from the moment from now and you're worrying about maybe a variable here, a variable there, a variable of what it is, you're not in the moment of what am I trying to execute right now? What is the defense presenting? How do I attack it? That's ultimately, I think it goes into the compartmentalization of a player, of like your focus has to be on the present to how you can perform, and all the other things are just part of the process that you have to minimize to make sure that you can maximize performance. And I think that goes into whether it's working through injuries, maybe performance cues or something that you're trying to improve. I think all that goes into like the mental training that you have to really have high level performance.
For a few more guys.
Frank, I'll just throw this out because this could be the last time we talk this season.
See, I thought we were going optimism, Chris. I thought, like, Hal told me we're starting off with, like, 2025 optimism.
I'm the only one that booked the Buffalo hotel, just so you know.
See, all right. Yeah. Next question, Joe, obviously.
Mike said that Tua kind of aggravated the hip on a hit that he took against San Francisco. Was it the pass to Tyreek in the end zone that was tipped?
There was one element from that, but I think it was just ultimately the as you go through a game of just movement and stuff. So I think that's when you try and pushing through stuff and then you have a setback, it's like now that's part of where we're at now, is making sure that when we get to the game, we're maximizing where we're at. We're not regressing or just trying to hold water with that. But yeah, it's this time of year. Everyone's working through something, trying to make sure we're ready for Sunday. Joe? No, I'm just
Bring
kidding.
up a negative
Just kidding.
note, but the Dolphins have
No. This one, you like? Oh, you just set me up for the next level.
New Year's resolution.
Oh, I was going to optimism.
I don't think Pro Bowl is very important.
Note, Joe.
I don't think Pro Bowl is very important. But it is also true that the team has 0 Pro Bowlers after having 5 in offense last year and none this year.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of factors, fan vote and this sort of thing. Does that tell you anything about the kind of season it's been?
I don't know if it's kind of the season it's been. I think there's things that go into that, but I think our focus right now is team goals, right? And let's focus right now on getting what we need to do to keep playing and extend our season.
Just as you look back at Chop's season, obviously, I was going to ask you not only what stands out from a good standpoint, there's been a lot of good, but the mission you would give him about where specifically there needs to be a jump in year 2 would be what, Anthony?
Yeah, I think the biggest message that would be relayed is just not to be satisfied, right? He's obviously had some early success, which is truly a credit to him, and his coaches just continuing to pour into him, but him responding and listening. But, complacency is the cousin of death in this league. So the last thing you ever want to do is just be happy with where you're at, because the second that happens, somebody's passing you up. So incredibly excited about the kid, and I know he'll put the work in, so I'm probably more talking to a lot of other people on the team as opposed to him.
I think Nas said that once about sleep.
Yeah, he did.
Some
He did.
complacency
He did.
here.
You know, we're 80s babies, man.
Nice.
Would there be, with him, is there a need to add yet another counter move as a pass rusher and from an edge setter? I know you've talked about his made progress, but
Yeah.
those 2 areas, like what would be the next step?
Yeah, I think as a pass rusher, you're constantly adding tools into your toolbox, trying to see how guys are seeing you on tape, trying to watch guys who have had success that have similar skill sets as you, and seeing what you can take from them and apply to your own game. So it's exactly what I said. Like, the kid has every athletic attribute known to man, right? He's fast, he's physical, he can bend. His arm length doesn't hinder him by any means. So whatever he can take and utilize and then apply, he should.
For Dotson to come in and have a game like he did last week, I imagine when you bring a guy in mid-season, you never know how they'll mesh or how they'll, kind of fit in with the group. But it seems like he's just kind of been able to step right in, make thrust in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and to be honest, we kind of expected that. Fortunately, I had some people in Seattle that could give us some really good intel. And, all reports out of there was a tremendous teammate, really good player. They just had some young guys that they wanted to get on the field. So that obviously has worked out in our favor, and the transition has been seamless for us.
Zach Sealer was named team MVP.
Oh, man.
Do you approve of this selection?
Absolutely. Right, absolutely. We've talked about Zach before. I think the absolute world of him. Without a question to me, he is certainly worthy of that award, particularly for our defense. He is, the heartbeat of our defense. He holds down the middle and obviously just shows up week in and week out and affects the game in a positive manner. So well-deserving for sure.
This is the number 3 defense in the league, but no Pro Bowlers on the initial Pro Bowl. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I guess we're a little bit like the no-name defense, I guess, right? So hopefully we get in and we'll give them a reason to talk about us.
I wouldn't ask you what the nature of a private conversation would be, but I'm curious. Obviously, with guys who are on waivers, in Mike's case, he called Matt LaFleur about Grant DuBose. In your case, because of your relationship with Mike McDonald, having worked with him, did Chris and Mike have you make the call to McDonald with regard to Dodson? I wouldn't ask you what's discussed.
Yeah,
but is that conversation ever awkward when a player has been cut? Because obviously you have to probe about why he's been cut.
Yeah, it's never an awkward conversation. And Chris and Mike definitely didn't prod me to do that. That's something you just do on your own. Just if somebody comes up and you think that there's potential of adding them to your team, as a coach, you always want to get as much information on that player as you can. Those conversations typically aren't awkward if you're calling somebody that you can trust, right? Because there's some coaches obviously that they're going to try to protect their guys, and particularly if you're talking to college coaches, right? They're going to try to protect their guys and paint them in a positive light. But if you're talking to coaches who you trust, particularly throughout the league, usually most people are pretty honest.
So you emerged from your conversation with Mike recommending it, again, not asking.
No. I think the potential of adding Tyrell is brought to me. You're always asked to watch the player first, right? So when we were asked to watch him, that's when I chose to do a little bit of digging.
Anthony, last week Dodson had 15 tackles, and then you look at Jordan Brooks' career; he's had as many as 184 tackles in the season. When you hear numbers like that, I'm trying to figure out in my head here what goes through a person's body when they have that many collisions in a season.
Yeah. Oh man, I've never been close to that many collisions in a season during my career. So, but the thing I tell you about those guys, one, particularly in reference to Jordan, because I've been with him the longest, he is constantly working at his craft, in whatever it is, on the football field, technique and fundamentals with Coach Barry and Matt O'Donnell, off the field, taking care of his body, making sure that he can endure those collisions week in and week out. And I think he just displays a will and a mindset where he will not be denied, right? He's going to make sure that he gives all he has to each and every one of his teammates every single week. And I think, in my limited exposure now to Tyrell, T-Dot, like he's cut the same way, right? Anthony Walker's cut that way. Duke Riley is cut that way. So that room has been strong, consistent for us most of the year. And it's truly a testament to those guys and the coaching they've been given to.
Last time against the Jets, both Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams had strong outings. What needs to change at this time?
We need to stop them, right? We obviously didn't execute our plan the way we intended the first time. And we certainly didn't go into it blind thinking like, oh, don't got to worry about these guys, right? They're incredibly talented. Obviously, Rodgers, his relationship with Devontae is, it's like they live together, right? They know what each other's going to do before they even have to signal anything. So we're certainly cognizant of that. We have a chip from the way that last game went. It certainly wasn't our best game, and we got to make that right.
Different for the secondary will be Kendall Fuller out now, Storm Duck, Boundary on nickel packages. How have you assessed how he has done?
Yeah, I think Storm's done a good job. But who knows going to be out there, right? Could be a multitude of people, and Aaron will just look out there on Sunday and find out.
Was there anything with Bonner's snaps? Obviously, he's played 16 defensive snaps this year, but was there anything there that made you give any thought to anything toward the Sunday?
I mean, when his opportunity presented itself, he was physical in edge setting. He got there and made a tackle when the opportunity presented itself. So extremely happy with where Ethan's at. And there's some other guys that showed up too, right? We've talked about Elijah Campbell who made some hits out there, right? And was talking a little trash, which, you gotta love that confidence in him. And then Saran Neal, right? Saran Neal's a guy that he's had some ups and downs throughout the season, but the one thing I know about him, he's going to show up. He's going to be a physical force out there when he does touch the field. So all those guys certainly have an opportunity.
Are there any Georgia Bulldogs on the coaching staff?
None that come to mind right away.
What about your chances in the Sugar Bowl?
Feel pretty good about it. I absolutely do. More than I have. This is not a knock on my university, but I got to tell a quick story. Okay, so 2012. All right, they're playing here in the Orange Bowl against Alabama. So unfortunately, so was I. But me and my dad were in town because I've had that place in Coral Ridge since '09, and I'm like, Dad, we're going to the game. Gonna make it a day. It's gonna be a memorable time. Like me, Dad, father, son time. Let's go watch the Irish kick some butt. Only time we got to cheer was kickoff. And after that, it was a pretty quiet day. I think we left sometime midway through the third. So, who would have known, like, after that game that, being your Mike linebacker being catfish was going to be the second thing you were actually going to be sad about, right? So hopefully it doesn't go down like that. Have the utmost faith in the team, cheering for Marcus Freeman, man, and hope they bring home a win.
This would typically be a question for Mike, but since we had a lot with Tua with him yesterday, we never got to it. Just wanted to make sure Matthias Bowser, Cam Smith, obviously they haven't been designated to return, both just physically not ready yet.
Yeah, just medically haven't been cleared to play.
Anthony, like Barry said at the start, we're hoping this isn't the last time we meet, but I'm just wondering what your process is going to be should you get feelers from other teams for head coaching positions. What will you do?
Yeah, so it's funny because I spoke to my agent last night, and he's like, what are you doing to prepare for those options? I'm like, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm so focused right now on just controlling what we control, beating the Jets, and praying that we get the help we need in order to continue this run. Because I think if we can get in, if we're blessed with that opportunity, we can make some noise.
How much do you want that for Calais? Because obviously he stuck it out with his team, and then now has a chance going into Week 18. And this is what he came here for, is to compete in the playoffs.
Yeah, I've wanted that for Calais since 2021, our first year together. Even the year we spent apart when he was in Atlanta, I've wanted that for him. So obviously, man, just to get in and to get a ticket to the dance is what we're looking for. And if anybody can help push a team past whatever its limits may be, it's that guy. So I'd give anything for that op.
Maybe you need him to talk to the Chiefs then.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We're going to play at the same time, so that'll be a tough one. Maybe we can do a pre-recorded message or something like that.
How's Bradley Chubb been this last week, these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. Like I said prior, I hope he gained confidence in that 3-week window when he was allowed to go out there and actually play football. And really, he's been phenomenal the entire season. I can't say enough about the effect he's had on Chop Robinson, right? He's constantly out there trying to coach him up on the sideline, just trying to help this young kid out because he's been that guy too, right? He's been that high draft pick with high expectations, so he can relate to him. So I love him. I can't wait till he's out there with us all the time because just like Calais, Zach Sealer, some of these other guys, Jalen Phillips, he is a force multiplier.
Danny, having Tyreek return punts, was that your idea or Tyreek's idea, and how do you think it went?
I think it went well. They did a good job trying to keep the ball away from him after the first opportunity. But again, anytime you have a playmaker of that caliber, the more you can get the football in his hands, I think it's a good thing. And
what about him doing that again? Is that on the table, off the table?
Everything is constantly in flux, so we'll see.
How do you assess this season as a whole now that, or how about 2024? In 2024, now that we are in 2025, 2024 is complete.
It has nothing, I'm not there. It's cumulative. It's cumulative.
How did you assess last season?
Good try. Yeah. See me down the road.
One more on the Tyreek thing. The reason behind it was what?
Well, he's an outstanding player, great with the ball in his hands, and give us a spark, possibly make a big play. All the normal reasons why you would assume a player of that caliber would be back there. There's a lot of moving parts to it, like there always is weekly. in game. So there's a lot of things that can dictate that. But again, I think it's a good thing when he has the ball in his hands. It's a good thing for the Miami Dolphins.
Not making any excuses, Jake was on the injury report with a back treatment ailment. A couple of punts that he just barely missed. Did stiffness in the back, or did the back have anything to do with it at all?
We're not going to talk about injuries. That's separate. So.
Jason on the 54-yard, yeah, he did. 54-yard field goal, crossbar and through. Were there some elements there that made it that close, or
There were a couple of things. We had some, the front end of the operation maybe wasn't as clean as we'd like. The strike maybe wasn't as good as you'd like. The field, a lot of elements. Anytime you play, when you don't know exactly what you're getting, in terms of field, wind, rain, whatever it may be, there's always going to be moving parts. But there was parts of it I think we could have handled better and controlled a little bit better. Fortunately, normally when he hits the yellow, it's not gone our way. Fortunately, we hit the yellow and it went our way on that one.
what does it say about Jason that all those things, despite all those things, it still went through?
Correct, and that's sort of where he is right now, and that's hopefully we can keep that rolling as long as we're playing. That the good things keep shining on him.
Coach, I have a question that hopefully you can teach me some football on, because on the play that I think Elijah Campbell was the one that drew the flag for the fair catch call, and you can't make the contact after that. What's the coaching point on that for a gunner when the guy calls fair catch or doesn't call fair catch? Do you try to teach him to hit the guy? What's the coaching point?
Well, you can't. Obviously, there's a couple rules. There's a couple ways that we'll play the gunner based on field position, what ball we're hitting. So there's a couple things that go into what technique we're asking him to play. But simply put, in that situation is trying to attack and play the returner as if it's going to be a return, and then off the fair catch. Obviously, the best part of that was me. Both Elijah and Saran immediately were pointing at the returner and yelling at the official that it was an illegal play. They don't want to hear from us. They don't have time to get to us. For those guys again to be able to do that as soon as it happened, to make the official aware of what happened. Not that the official wasn't. He was pretty quick to go to his flag, but good awareness by both those guys and understanding the rules.
Danny, a general football question. When a player's helmet comes off, I know it happened to Benito Jones. I think it happened to Mo Camara on a special teams play not too long ago. But anyway, what is the rule? Is the play dead, or what do you tell the players to do? What happens there?
You keep playing. The play does not stop when a player loses his helmet in the course of a play. The play continues. They just got to be, they got to be smart in how they're playing. But a lot of it's instinct at that point. They're not thinking about any of that. They're just playing football. But
so Benito was carrying the ball with no helmet, and so
has nothing to do with anything. In the course of a play, they are not correct. They are not going to blow a whistle because a player has lost his helmet. The play will continue.
If I were to ask you, Danny, if you found a long-term returner in Malik Washington, would your answer be yes, or it's too soon to know?
I think we really like him as a player. I think we really like him as a returner. I really like the progress he's made this year, and where we started. So I think the long-term prospects of him are very good. But that's for another day.
The Jets changed kickers since last time. Any change in the process for you guys? I know he was the one that was on the kickoff that Malik Washington returned. That was pivotal late.
No, it's we'll go back. We got a lot of history and files and tape and reports on Greg Joseph, and as soon as the move happened, we got into that. And again, it's they're going through something there. It's hard. People don't understand the constant change and the operation, and that'll be their fifth kicker of the year. So kudos to those guys for working through that. It's hard, but he's a good player. He's got strong history in this league, and we're going to get their best. It's a good group.
No sympathy for them when you've had 5 long snappers.
Yeah, correct. It's all part of it. It just seems how it is.
So with the play this year of Julian, we've seen some really good blocks, other maybe not as great moments. How would you assess in sum how he served the role you've asked him to do?
He's done well. Really with me, it's just guys getting better as the season goes on. I know early on you were on me about his penalties. I don't know when the last time he's had a penalty, knock on wood. But so it's just, you got to remember where he came from and where we're trying to go. You're coming from Campbell University and you're not really playing inline tight end. Now all of a sudden you're in the NFL and you're asked to do a lot of stuff besides just line up and go block people. So I'm pleased with really the whole room. I feel like they've all gotten better as the season's gone on, and that's really all you can ask for as a coach.
Is it a big deal that Jonnu did not make the initial Pro Bowl roster, or he'll get in as an alternate?
No, I mean, it is what it is on that. To me, I'm just pleased with how Jonnu has played this year and what he's brought to this team, not just on the field, but I think really this has been one of the funnest years I've had as a coach, just that room. The camaraderie that those guys have, everyone pulling for each other. I look at when something like that happens, that's more of a group reward. Jason Dunn used to tease Tony all the time, Gonzalez, about you wouldn't do it if I wasn't in there blocking for you so you can go out and run and catch the ball. So there's a lot that goes into all that stuff. And, just the fact that, people talk about him in that light is good. And there's a lot of work we need to do because I think he can be significantly better. And so I'm looking forward to that when that time comes, starting next year or whatever. And so this just gives us a kind of a baseline on where we're starting and then keep it moving forward next year.
If you're willing to share, John, where could Jonnu be significantly better?
We can be better in the run game. We can be better as pass protectors, running routes. We can be cleaner at the top of routes, separating. I mean, I tell my guys all the time, my job is to never be satisfied. So and I think if you asked him, I'm sure he would tell you there's things he could be better at too. And so that's what allows you to be successful. If you just sit there and think you've made it and you've arrived and it's all good, then somebody's going to pass you up.
What do you make of Durham Smythe's season? You said in your first answer, everyone in the room has shown improvement this year. Are there some tangible things that you can point to?
Yes. Durham does a lot for us as far as getting things right. There's times that maybe a play isn't called right or the personnel or something like that, and he always makes it right. I think Durham's done a really good job as far as the team's aspect of it as well. He helps Julian and Jonnu at times, explain things how he sees it through being in this offense for a while. And then what he's done on the field, making some key blocks at the right times on certain screens or pass protecting. He's done a really good job. So he does things that doesn't necessarily show up in the box score or that people wouldn't know if you're just watching football, if you're not really in tune to what teams are trying to do or what you're trying to do within that player concept. And he does a lot of that stuff right that allows us to have some success offensively.
John, what might have surprised you about Jonnu working with him for the first time this year?
I wouldn't say anything surprised me just because I don't go into any preconceived notions, because I want to go into blank slate and let you show me who you are and what you do. The one thing that's been a pleasant surprise is his eagerness to work and get better and to challenge himself. That's half of it. When you don't have to convince someone that you have to keep improving, that you have to get better, that makes it that much harder. And he's always looking for ways to get better and asking questions. And then if you give him the answer, he does it as well. It's not just like he's asking you, hey, what can I do to get better? And then like, okay, and never work on it. So he has a great work ethic. The way he studies and tries to learn the playbook, this is a very difficult offense for our position, and he's done a good job with it.
What's something that you saw on film with Johnny before he got here that you were able to kind of pull out and hone in him this year, where you look back and say that's one thing that's been impressive?
Well, the tape didn't do justice on what he can be as far as a yak type player. He's done well with it, and he'll tell you, me and him, we've had our moments, because I feel like there's a lot more on the field with this yak. So he's gotten better as far as being consistent and trying to get those extra yards, but you don't really feel his power and his speed until you see him with the ball and in an actual game day situation, and you realize holy cow, he's got a lot in his body, and that's what I'm excited about as far as working with him, because we can pull that out consistently and do a couple other things. He could be a real force.
He talked about that aspect of you kind of encouraging him to go out there and get more yards. He said he never had a coach really do that with him. What was that? Just a matter of him effort, or what did you see where he could give more in the yak category?
Part of it's mindset. You know, I've gone through this with a lot of the guys I've coached. You know, Kittle, it was a battle early on with him as well. You know, I think sometimes when you've had success as a player, no matter what it is, not just Jonnu, but if you've had success as a player, you try to lean, you have a tendency to lean on your strengths, and you don't see sometimes what's in you. I think as a coach, one of my jobs is to see what you're capable of or what your potential is, and then try to get it out of you, as opposed to, well, that's what he does, and oh, well. And so with him, part of it's just getting him to see and realize really what he's capable of being as far as a yak guy when he gets the ball. And I think really the aha moment for him, or for me, I think that validated everything was the Rams game when he almost scored on that shallow and bounced off of like 3 guys and got it to like the 1-yard line. I think after that play, it kind of clicked for him. You know, I remember the play that clicked for George. I remember, like, all the guys, there's certain things that you're trying to get guys to do, and it's not that they're pushing back, they're just kind of looking at you like you're crazy. And then it clicks when it happens, and then it's like, oh, man, wait. And it gets kind of intoxicating. Then you want to do it more, and then you start realizing that there's more in your game, or there's another level that you can go to. So that, you know, to me as a coach, it's my job to figure out what it is, whether it's a yak, whether it's run blocking, pass protecting, whatever it is, and try to get it out of you. You know, it's, you know, a lot of times, especially like in Jonnu's situation when you've played for a long time, you can be pigeonholed into what your skill set is, and sometimes it's hard to see yourself for what you can be because no one else has ever done that for you, and so you just kind of accept, well, this is what I must be, or this is what I am, so let me lean into that. And you know, for me, I try to see everybody differently as individuals, not as groups. And if I see something in you I think you can do or have success with or make your game better, I'm going to ride you on it because I just believe that I'm going to be right about it, and eventually it'll click for them.
To the greater emphasis on getting the ball to the tight end this season. It was always said last 2 seasons that this offense here hasn't gotten the ball to the tight end beyond just having someone capable of being that pass catcher like Jonnu. What has led to it?
I think part of it too is a comfort level with the players, but also, you know, when with our passing game, the way it was set up, it kind of from the outside in. So now that Tua is comfortable with Waddle and Tyreek and knowing all that, now he understands where that third element is, whether it's us or the running back, how we can help with the passing game, and then what teams are doing. You know, teams are doubling and taking those guys away and making it miserable on them. So that's given us some favorable matchups, and now it's just a matter of us having the ability to take advantage of it.
What do you think of Tyler Huntley?
Who's that? No, Snoop? Yeah. I love Tyler, man. He great kid, always smile on his face. The guys love him. He takes it serious. It's really refreshing to see someone like him, you know, in the journey that he's been on to, you know, get his op, and he understands what it means, not only to the team but to himself. And I'm happy for him. He's a great kid. I'm very happy for his success. I get on him too about sliding some, but I forget, you know, he's got that in his game. But he's a great kid, and he works at it, and like I said, he does a good job with the players. They'll follow him wherever he wants to take them.
He was the quarterback when Jonnu started going on his tear.
Yeah.
He was in first when
that
started.
That's right. That's right.
John, for 6 of the last 7 games, the run game hasn't been at the level that anybody wants it. Obviously, it was against San Francisco. Frank was saying sometimes it's just one guy who's off. Without naming names, has the person who's been off been from your room some over the 6 out of 7 stretch? A little bit, a lot, more than your liking would be?
I don't know about that. What if I told you it was the quarterback? He's bad with the handoffs. No.
Clearly right.
Yeah, I mean, if he just was better with the handoff, we'd be better. No, it really isn't one group. You know, I'm sorry, I can't do that, but it's really not one group. You know, it could be a receiver block, it could be a tight end on a second level, it could be a guard not climbing. There's a lot of different things that have transpired that allow that. Sometimes they play a front we really haven't practiced against. You know, that's the other thing, that teams start junking up things and doing different things that maybe you don't practice. So what you have to do is, as you make your adjustments throughout the game plan or throughout the game to your game plan, if you haven't practiced it, you know, guys maybe misjudge an angle that they have to do, a climb or this and that. So really running the ball, it does take everybody, you know, in our offense. Some offenses, receivers don't have to block. In our offense, they have to. Like Reek had a big block last week, a little block on a linebacker on a play that was huge. He's had some big blocks for us throughout the year in long runs. So it really does come down to the whole unit being all on the same page, whether it's the back pressing it or bouncing outside, or whether it's a tackle or a tight end or whatever. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it's not just one position.
Jon, when it comes to the passing game, if you guys have offensive tackle concerns, would it make more sense to assume the tight ends stay in more for pass protection or go out more as the quarterback's best friend safety blanket?
Well, you know me. I'll be a safety blanket. Don't keep me in. No, you got to do all. You have to do different things. You know, running the ball will help you with that as well. So I don't think there's just one answer with that. That would be crazy to think that you could just, because if you just say, oh, you're going to keep the tight end in, well, they'll play man and they'll add the guy covering the tight end. So there's a lot of different things that defenses can do too. So you just have to have confidence in your guys out there on the edges and, you know, get a good week of work in and preparation and them studying the guy they're going against and see if they have tendencies or tips, and then going out there and competing. But, you know, you're going to have to do everything you can, different things or whatever if you need to help them. But to me, I'd rather be out and be the safety blanket.
So, Austin, how happy that the team MVP happens to be a guy who's in your room?
Yeah, happy for him. Zach's a hell of a player. I think he's, you know, he keeps getting better every week. And, you know, season to season, and some of the things he's able to do as a run defender, as a pass rusher. And I think this year for him as a leader, you know, being a captain and taking that role is awesome, and really happy for him. Absolutely.
We also named Calais Campbell our Good Guy Award winner. Do you think we got that one right?
I think you got that one right, man. I think you did, man. How many of those has he won?
6 or 7.
6 or 7. I'm not surprised. He's a great guy. Similar to Zach, man. Great leader, and I think the chemistry those guys have together has been really awesome. To work with two guys like that of that caliber and all the thing they both bring to the table is awesome.
In a perfect world, he'd be back next year. He wants to play if he's back. But regardless of how long you coach him, Austin, years from now, when you look back at coaching Calais for a year or more, what will stand out to you? What will you remember many years from now about this year experience with him?
His preparation, his mentality, second to none. And I think that'll stand. I don't think I'll ever, you know, absolutely want him back. Love to have him back for all those reasons. But I don't think there's very many people who, you know, have the knowledge of the game that he has. Like, this guy's a football guy. If there's any level of football on TV and he's sitting at home, like, that's what he's watching. You know what I mean? Like, it's so important to him. And real student of the game, and he's an extremely physical player. And grateful to work with him. And, you know, I picked up a lot of things from him along the way. Just, you know, he's seen so many different forms of coaching and things that work for him. And it's been a real treat, and I've really enjoyed it.
There aren't a lot of larger-than-life figures necessarily on defense. Obviously, quarterbacks are like that, you know, where, as I say in the E.F. Hutton ads, if someone talks, people listen. You know, is he kind of like that? Have you had another guy like that? I mean, you've coached other great players, but unique in that way where people listen.
No, I think it starts with his voice. I wish I had a good impersonation for you, but I mean, it's like from the first time you meet him, you're like, that's, you know, he's got that I don't even know what the word is, but his presence is probably the biggest thing I would say. And absolutely, and I think it's been great for all the guys on our team to see, like, okay, this is what it looks like. And for a guy to come into the building without OTAs, without anything, and be named a captain, I think it shows that, you know, his peers feel the same way. And as a coach, that's what you want. You want players, like for me specifically with the defensive line, like you want those guys to lead the show. You know, those are some of the best units we've had here have been just that the players are out there playing, they're playing off each other, they're making tweaks and changes on the field because at the end of the day, they're the ones lined up that are seeing the thing, not what the hell I know on the sideline, you know what I mean? And so that's been awesome about them, and hopefully we can have another big game this week.
Did you watch the Calais Campbell mic'd up?
I haven't.
Oh, you guys?
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, go to the Miami Dolphins Twitter account. It's within the last 24 hours. You're on there. You made it in.
What did you think?
It blew my mind how much energy Calais has. And I've always wondered whether or not it's overrated or underrated energy guys, he was needling Benito throughout the game.
I did see that little snippet from TV or whatever.
Yeah.
The guys sent it right after the game. And I'll tell you this, it's infectious. When someone can operate like that and it instills confidence in everybody. Like, hey, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do with the technique I'm supposed to play with. And, if you need some juice, plug into me. That's the vibe I get. And I think the players feed off it. And to me, you can't have enough Calais Campbells. If you know where there's more, let me know.
Can you explain how impressive or hard it is for a player in year 17 to have just been available and healthy, the way he has this season?
Yeah, extremely hard. I think it speaks a lot to his preparation, yes, in the building, but outside of the building, and the stuff he does with his body and to maintain the shape and his weight. And one thing you guys should know about this guy, he's not just showing up to Friday and Saturday walkthrough and going and playing. He practices. And in training camp, the joint practices, he plays the way he plays because of how he prepares on the field practicing. And I think, his availability is unbelievable week to week. And, it's very impressive. There's no question about it. And I think you can tell by, every time we play somebody, it seems like inevitably after the game, one of their best players or some guy, whoever their longest tenured vet on the team is coming up to him hey, you remember that in 08, or whatever it might be.
What's your level of disappointment, if any, that Zach Sealer, for his great season, did not make the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, I think, obviously Zach's a deserving player. I think he's done a heck of a job, both as a pass rusher, a run defender. And at the end of the day, we're focused on the Jets right now. And I think, for him, it's just another notch in the thing. All right, it is what it is. It happened, and let's beat the Jets, man, and hopefully keep our season alive here. I think that's the focus first and foremost, and
I think when you look at the Jets, that game against the Dolphins was one of their best offensively they've had this year. I think that the pressure rate was pretty low in terms of what it's been against that Jets front. What about their offensive line and that quarterback makes them tough to pressure?
Yeah, it all starts with the quarterback. You got a Hall of Fame quarterback. He works the count. He adjusts at the line. I think their interior O-line, Vera Tucker and Tippmann at center, those guys are doing a great job for him. They got Moses. And I think for them, in that game, for us, some of the tempo stuff and, they did a great job against us. And there's no question about it. We're going to have to play better than we did the first time around.
I know the season's not complete, but when you sit down with Deshaun Hand for exit interviews, whatever the case may be, what will you highlight to him about this year?
Yeah, I think for him is consistency has been great with him, both as a run defender and a pass rusher, but he can play anywhere across the line for us. Extremely versatile player, and he's tough, pleased with where he's at, and want to keep pushing him to keep going.